and welcome back. Thank you guys so much for joining me for today's video. In it, I'm going to go over the top 15 options at tight end, and I'm also bringing you my top 15 defenses in week number 11. Going to try to give you all the stats and information you need to make the best decisions possible. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That way you won't miss out on any of the great content Relentless Press has every single week. And if you find yourself halfway through the video enjoying it, crush that like button for me as well. Keeps the channel moving forward and it is greatly appreciated. Without any further ado, let's hop into Week 11's tight end rankings. Travis Kelce claims the top spot. He broke his 3-game scoreless streak against Jacksonville, which was the longest drought of the season for him. Kelce has not dropped out of the top 3 in an incredible 7 straight games. To number 2, it is Mark Andrews. It looks like he's going to be able to come back after being out since Week 8's injury. Baltimore needs him to balance this offense, and even with the missed time, he is still the tight end 2 on the season, showcasing just how impactful he has been. My third ranked tight end at the top of tier 2 is TJ Hockenson. He is looking like a smash high-end tight end 1 play the rest of the way since his arrival in Minnesota. Hockenson has 16 catches on 19 targets in his first 2 games in purple, and both of those games were tough matchups. There is another one here, but that clearly does not matter. George Kittle is next at 4. He should be able to bounce back after a brutal showing last week where he only saw 2 targets, which was his lowest opportunity share of the season. No one allows more points per game to the position than the Cardinals, so Kittle will get right. To round out my top 5, I have Dalton Schultz at the top of tier 3. He is paying off my faith in him thus far, posting back-to-back finishes in the top 10. He's seen 15 targets over his last 2 games, compiling 128 yards and a score in them. It also does not hurt that the Vikings allow the 8th most points per game to the position. Up next is Pat Freiermuth at 6. He did not rack up the yardage that we were accustomed to seeing, but the opportunities were still there as he tied for the team lead in targets. With his talent and 7 or more looks in 4 out of his past 5 games, there are few options out there that are better. To number 7, and it is Gerald Everett, who will once again be a solid play this week if he is healthy enough to go. With question marks all over the wide receiver room for LA, Everett has been a lifesaver for the Chargers. The top of tier 4 starts with Greg Dulcich, who finally came crashing down to earth last week, but it was not entirely his fault. Russell Wilson missed him on a wide open play that could have been a long touchdown, and Vegas is bottom 5 in the league at stopping the tight end position, so I'm expecting a rebound here. Foster Moreau is up next. He's in at 9. He will step into a big time role now that Darren Waller is gone to IR, and he has shown in the past that he can produce when given the opportunity. I think that Derek Carr is going to struggle with that defensive front in Denver, and because of it, I think Moreau is peppered with targets underneath. Tyler Higbee rounds out my top 10. He returned from obscurity to post his best finish since way back in week number 4. He posted a perfect 8 catch on 8 target day with 73 yards. Now that we know that Cooper Kupp is out, he is going to get fed even more. The problem is this offense does not look like something I want to have in my lineups. Dawson Knox is at 11. He has been a top 13 tight end in 3 out of his last 4, and he nearly scored a monster touchdown against my Vikings, if not for a great defensive play. His targets have increased in back-to-back games. However, Cleveland allows the 4th fewest points to the position, so there could be a bump in the road here for him. Cole Kmet is my last tight end 1 in week number 11. He drops a bit here because he is dealing with a thigh injury and he did miss practice on Wednesday. He does have 5 touchdowns in his last 3 games, and even though that is clearly not sustainable, if he's healthy, he has to be locked into lineups until it changes. Hayden Hurst is my lucky number 13. He has not flashed much upside since back in week number 5, but the good news is he's been a consistent producer with whatever looks he has gotten. In 33 targets since week 3, he's caught all but 5 of them. Kyle Pitts is way down at 14 for me against the Bears. He is averaging 8 targets per in his last 3, but he has not been able to do pretty much anything with them. In his last 2 games, he's compiled 55 yards on 15 looks in this low upside passing attack. There are certainly better options out there, but if you are determined to shoot for that elusive upside, then go ahead and shoot your shot. Juwan Johnson is my last tight end in week 11. He has scored 4 touchdowns in his last 4 games, posting 3 top 8 finishes in that time. His usage is not great, but it is hard to argue with the results that he has had. In a tough matchup here, he's got his work cut out for him. The Rams allow just over 6 points a game to the position. Before I hop in to my defenses, quick shout out to all of my subscribers. Thank you guys so very much for all of your support. Really means the world to me. So happy we got over our 500 target for subscribers. Let's keep pushing forward and get to 1,000. Now, let's hop into my week 11 defenses. Claiming the top spot are the Baltimore Ravens, who got bumped up in my rankings with the news that Baker Mayfield will be the guy this week. The turnover machine should provide plenty of big play opportunities for Baltimore, who do not need the extra help. The Ravens have posted 3 or more sacks in every game but 2 this year, and they've also posted a top 5 finish in 2 out of their last 3. The Philadelphia Eagles are my next defense. They're in at 2. They go to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. And at the top of tier 2, I have the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Pittsburgh. Now, I am way above consensus for Cincinnati this week, but there is a good reason for it. The Bengals are a top 8 defensive DVOA unit, so the lack of fantasy production that they've had thus far is deceiving. Kenny Pickett has also thrown 8 picks in his last 6 games, and he's taken 12 sacks in his last 2. The Bengals will create big plays in this one and make a statement. At number 4, I have the New England Patriots. They get the Jets at home, and the Denver Broncos round out my top 5 against a struggling Vegas unit. At the top of tier 3 and at 6 are the Buffalo Bills, who should play some angry football this week on the heels of back-to-back losses, especially when you consider that they just gave up 33 points against my Vikings. They drop a bit because Cleveland has been very conservative thus far, and also Nick Chubb could give them fits. To number 7, it is the San Francisco 49ers. They travel to Arizona, and headlining tier number 4 for me are the New Orleans Saints against the Rams at home. They may even rise from this high ranking if Matthew Stafford cannot go, but even if he can, the Rams do not have a running game, and with no Cooper Kupp, they don't have a passing game. So this is blood in the water for a Saints defense that has 2 top 10 finishes in their last 3, and they also have 13 sacks in that span. The New York Jets are in at 9, and back to New York for number 10, it is the Giants against Detroit. The Washington Commanders are my 11th ranked defense. They travel to Houston to take on the Texans, and at the top of tier 5 and at the bottom in the same game, I have the Dallas Cowboys first and my Minnesota Vikings next at 13. I do not love either of these options if I am being completely honest, but both defenses can put pressure on the quarterback, get some sacks, and I also think that both quarterbacks have had issues turning the ball over. At the top of tier 6, it is the Los Angeles Rams against New Orleans, and the last defense that I have in week number 11 are the Tennessee Titans at Green Bay. Now, I would have loved this play a lot more if the Packers' passing attack didn't suddenly come alive, but I still think that that Tennessee front gives plenty of issues to Rodgers. And then you think about the wide receiver room for Green Bay, which is very banged up, and Tennessee becomes a solid play even at this ranking. And that is all she wrote for my tight end and defense video in week 11. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. Let me know what you thought about the rankings and drop your comments and questions down below. The engagement is one of the biggest reasons that I do these videos. I love being able to talk to you guys and help you out, and I can't do that if there is nothing down below for me to answer. Don't forget to hit that like button for me and subscribe to the channel to keep that progress moving. This is Relentless Press. I am your host, Freiermuth, and I will see you